But yes, at the topic that we discussed last week, a few weeks ago.
Yep.
Twin Flames. Did everyone get to watch it?
Yes.
Of course you did. You recommended it.
I was like, did everyone watch it? Because, I watched it.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
Janie, yes,
No,
yes.
yes, for sure. Put it on like right after our meeting.
Oh, 100%. Also, yesterday, I like on the same subject of like cults and how we might like people in general might fall victim to false prophets or whatever this conversation may lead to. But on Netflix, I saw another thing that was basically like how to be a cult leader or something that was a satirical, like I
Oh,
didn't watch it, but I was like, oh, this is too fitting. Like
I know I didn't watch it either, but I did see that because like after you watch something, it like suggests all the other things that you should watch. I'm like, oh, now I'm
yeah,
down the rabbit hole. But I saw that was one of the shows.
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. It seems like okay, so Jessica, before we hop into it, do you mind going over what Twin Flames is like about before we like start discussing it, like just briefly?
Oh yeah, so it's a documentary that's on Netflix. It's like a limited series, but it's basically about this cult that apparently is still happening. And it's based on the principle of finding your soulmate, right? So, um, it's led by this husband and wife duo. And they are self-proclaimed to be the only ones that can like find like perfectly match people with their soulmate. So it just basically like it was an inside look with some ex cult members, and I think even some that might still be in it. I don't really remember. Just about what was happening, like all the different things they went through, and just showed like, I don't know, how it kind of gave me an idea of like how these cults operate, right? So they pick something, and obviously I feel like the people that are drawn to it are like lacking something, right? Or they desperately want whatever it is that this cult is advertising. And in this case, it's love. Well, that's an easy thing. A lot of people are looking for love, right? And it was just really, it was intense. Like I don't know what you ladies thought of it, but it was a wild ride for sure.
Yeah. I feel like some of the people that were, participating in the, twin flame thing, they were definitely lacking something. They were looking for, an example of what they should, look for in like their future lover, partner, or whatever. And even like friendships. And it was like they were selling them like a pamphlet of like, oh, we did this. This is what works for us. If you do it too, you'll be able to, find, your twin flame. And they were like, there's only one. There's only one. There can only be one. So like if he's abusive or he or she is abusive, if he or she is a liar or a criminal, that doesn't matter, keep pursuing, and it was just very delusional that people would go for that and follow through. There were like people that were putting themselves in harm's way. That poor girl that was dating that older guy that was like, she didn't even like him, she didn't even like want to be with him, but he reached out, so he must be my twin flame. Like they were pressuring them on like the littlest things, like what was the last song you listened to? Oh, that's a clue. That's a clue that he loves you. Like it was just like insane. Like you could literally, like I could, like anyone on the street could like convince these people, it seemed, that anyone would be their, soulmate. And it was just very sad. And that poor other lady that got, she became a stalker because he was like, the guy was like, I don't want to be with you. Like I get that you like me and I get that
Doesn't
you want to be
matter.
with me. It
They
doesn't.
were like,
Doesn't
It's more than
matter.
a restraining order. It doesn't matter. That doesn't exist.
Yeah.
I mean, it very much does exist.
Yes, it
I
was
do
No,
so
it
not.
doesn't
good.
in the soul plane.
Oh my gosh. I was just like, and the fact that even after she got, her she got that straining order on her, they were still like, well, you must have done something wrong. Like, what did you do wrong? Listen, I'm trying to like go with along with what you guys are telling me to do. And like that's just kind of like shows you how dangerous like listening to people who have no kind of like, even if people have education, like that there's no sense behind what they're saying, you know what I'm saying? But when you don't have that, when you have an empty hole, or you don't have you have that empty void, you look for anything to fill it, even if it's not rational. Yeah, so it was insane watch for me.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think like why I kind of wanted to bring this up as a topic is because it's like it is obvious that there is a void, right? But what makes people so willing to turn to another human to fulfill this void rather than, turn to God, right? I
Mhm.
feel like that's why in the faith, like we're taught you should surrender your whole self. And I think that that's because like God knows that there's so many things that we could easily fall into the traps, and like, like there's false prophets and all types of ways that we can follow. But if we surrender ourselves to him, and focus on him and trust him with our everything, he can like what am I trying to say? Navigate so that we don't fall into the traps of just anybody making up anything, because that's what a lot of these cults are. Like it's just someone random. Like this guy, I think he went to Hawaii, came back, changed his name, and boom, he was he was all of a sudden a spiritual leader. And you
Right.
have to really be careful with that because even if your intentions are good, if you are following someone whose intentions are not good, that can lead you down the path of destruction, as it did with a lot of the ex cult members of this particular cult. At the end, when they were like kind of talking about like they didn't even realize what they were doing, I believed that because they were so brainwashed and they were in it for so long that I feel like it didn't, it seemed normal.
Mhm.
Like, and I think there's an element of also they were spending so much time, so much money. Like they were only surrounded by themselves. They were on these coaching calls all the time. So it becomes easy to have a distorted view of like what is reality and what's
Yeah. And in
wrong.
some cases, it was like a sibling or an otherwise like trusted, I would assume trusted individual that's like brought you into this world. So you're like, oh, this has to be true. Like they believe it too.
Mhm. Yeah.
And
It's like,
yeah, it was like a multi-level marketing scheme.
yeah.
Mhm.
Because it
Yeah.
was like, oh my gosh, Jessica, you found your twin flame. Now you two get to lead sessions and you should be charging. And you have to give me my, like,
And you have to become a coach. And in order to become a coach, you have to take all these classes. And I was like, oh
no.
my gosh, like, and people were talking about how they didn't even have enough money to survive and do this. And I'm just like,
Yeah. Well, they were making so much more money, like
right, like,
in a
did
big
you
old house and living large. I was just like, oh wow, look how you guys are making out. And then the fact that their relationship wasn't even like, picture perfect. Not to say that any relationship is picture perfect, but they were just making it seem like they had the ultimate, like, this is where you want to be. You want to be where we're at. And they were like sitting up there arguing with each other. I'm like, I don't even think she believes half the stuff you're saying either. Because they were just going back and forth. And he was just like, stop talking, stop talking. And then she was just like, oh, oh. Like you would think if you guys were on the same wavelength that you would already, kind of fill that role. But it's not, I mean, nothing's perfect. no relationship is perfect. And I definitely don't think that you should be looking to another person to fill any voids or, any relationships. Like, and quite the opposite. I feel like when you do feel that void, that's when you're supposed to get closer to God. That's when you're supposed to, search within, and have that, individual time to kind of like, gain that information on like who you are, and who's the person you want to be, and who the person is that you want to attract, and work through those issues that you may have, because those issues don't go away just because you're in a relationship. Those things still exist, and now you're just adding another person to the mix, and who knows what issues they don't have. Like if they're going along with all this stuff, it's like it's just two people that are just not destined to succeed. And if it is in this case, end up cult leaders and stuff like that. So, but that relationship that was successful, like the very first one, I did feel really bad about her. And that was her sister, right? Her sister, like how she was just like, I'm so sorry. And it was just like how you didn't have that foresight to see that you're putting your sister in a situation where you don't want to even be in, because it sounded like from the very beginning, she was like, things were moving kind of fast. We got engaged after, however many months. We were pressured into moving in with each other. And then now you have to bring your sister. Like, I couldn't imagine like bringing, a loved one into a situation where I wasn't even fully comfortable in, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, that was very unfortunate.
Yeah, I thought another interesting element that I have seen and heard about, like with other cults, is they do mix in God, right? And what they're trying to get people to do. So they'll like manipulate scripture, right?
Mm-hmm.
And because I think even in this cult, I forgot exactly what it was, but I heard them like they were talking about God a few times and trying to twist in what they were doing with like God's plan. And I think even they wanted to start like a church or something, or they did start a church or something like that.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I feel like these cults do that because there's this, thought that like if we bring God into it, then people will automatically think that what we're saying is legit,
okay.
right? It's okay. So follow what I'm saying, because God's saying for me to tell you to do this, and God says to do this. And I mean, manipulation of the scripture happens a lot. Like this might not be something I should say, but it doesn't always just happen, in cults and things like that. People use it. I mean, I've heard sermons where scripture and other churches where scriptures have been manipulated, taken out of context to fit what was being preached about. And if you don't know, then you're like, oh, okay, like that's what this means, and that's why it's so important also to like read the word. God talks about meditating on his word day and night. And he's not just saying that just to say it. It's because, the word is good and God has provided it for us, as I believe, as like a blueprint for life. But if you don't really know it and someone comes in, there's a lot of room for misinterpretation in the Bible. And if you don't know it, someone can just tell you anything. And if it sounds like it kind of could be, then now you're thinking that's what that means. And that's the principle of how you're taking what it is. And it could be completely wrong,
Right.
So I think that's also a similar element that I see a lot of times when you hear about these different cults, is them manipulating the scripture, them picking something that praying or going after people that are vulnerable, that are lacking something, right? It just makes them easier targets. I also feel like they isolate people, right? So, in the Bible, it refers to Christian community. It talks about, like where there's one or two or three or more, they're gathered, there I am. Paraphrasing, I don't know all the scriptures, but I know the gist.
Yeah.
And it talks about like a couple different times about how important it is basically to have a community of believers. And with cults, it's like the opposite, right? They want to isolate you from maybe your community and just build on the community that they have, so that that is your only frame of reference, you know, and it's easier for them to manipulate your mind into following whatever it is that they are trying to sell you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, with that manipulation and stuff, I feel like even with the actions that followed it, they weren't lining up. So it was just very contradicting. I was just like, he's saying, you know, they believe in God and all this stuff, but then like they're cursing, they're talking down to people, they're like, it was just like, and you guys believe this stuff? And it was just
That's what
like,
I don't get. And I feel
yeah,
so bad because I'm like, how, yeah, what causes you? I guess part of it is being at that feeling of lack and like something's missing and that they think this is going to fill it. But yeah. And I guess in this case specifically, the love aspect, but just generally speaking, I don't understand. And it's so sad, especially when they have external people. It's like, why aren't you questioning that? And yeah. I mean, the parents though, like they
yeah, I was
get
gonna
it.
say that mom
Um,
was like really trying to get her daughter back. It was just like, you're cut off. And there might be some underlying issues there. Um, it just seemed like there might have been more, not on, you know, the daughter side, but maybe the mom side, or like the relationship just isn't, you know, the best. And like, I don't know, they didn't really get into like the really upbringing really. Because I feel like definitely there may have had, it seemed like there may have had to like be like a conflict in that relationship where she was just like, I'm never talking to you again, for that to
Well,
happen.
if you remember, if we're talking about the same mother,
The twins.
yes. So
Yeah.
if you remember, because again, this cult was like multifaceted. Remember, they had that maps portion of it, which was like a
Oh
psychology.
yeah.
So they got her to basically like remember a false like narrative of what happened in her childhood.
Yeah.
Remember? So
Right.
she said I mean, I hope it's false at least, because I hope it's not true, but I mean, either way, it's sad. But I think she had said something about like she was abused or molested as a
Yeah.
child, and everyone else, like her sister and everybody was like, what? Like,
Right. Right. I do remember that.
so, I mean, I don't know if that's not true, that again just goes to show like how much power like these people were giving over to these cult leaders, because to be able to manipulate someone into remembering something that did not happen
Yeah. Right.
that's deep. Like
mhm.
Insane.
um
It's scary.
that's very scary. Like that's very scary. Um I mean, here's the thing. I was talking to a friend about it, and she was like, "Oh, that could never happen to me. Like, I could never fall for one of these things." And like, part of me wants to say, "Oh yeah, I could never fall for that too." But I almost feel like if it really just depends on where you are, right? So if someone picks something that you are desperately wanting, and again, I feel like maybe this happens less so if you are very spiritually mature, because you understand where you're supposed to be turning, and like God is your everything, like you're lacking nothing with him, right? And that he's working behind the scenes to make everything work out for you. But for people that are not at that point, I feel like it could be very easy to fall into a cult, like
Yeah.
because it's really they're attacking something that people really want, that's not happening for them, right? So like I felt like the love one, I was like, yeah, that's a big one to go after, you know, like people want love. People are desperate for love. That's why there's all these dating sites, there's all this stuff going on, like, and there's nothing wrong with it, right? We're built to love others. We're built for love, to receive love from others and all that. So, I mean, that's like the only one I could think of right now that, oh, there's been other cults that are like based on getting to heaven, right? And manipulating people into like, you have to do X, Y, and Z.
Give all your money.
You have to give all your money.
Or like drink weird metals and like it's
Right.
weird stuff.
Right. So, I mean, they really just attack whatever it is people are longing for the most. And so I can see why people can get caught up in that. Which is sad. But also, again, it goes back to why I feel like for me, just as a Christian, it's so important to really just to be in relationship with God. Because I mean, yeah, are there times, like, for example, we'll go to the love, because that's what this one is about. Like, are there times when I'm lonely and like, yes, I wish I had a companion? Of course. But because I know, that God is working everything out for me, it's going to happen on his time. This is a time I can appreciate my singleness as a way to get closer to him in a way that I might not be able to when I'm married, because now there's another person, there's another factor to the equation. Like, this is how I can look at things, and I can understand, like, and I can appreciate, maybe the times when it's like, quote unquote, lonely. It doesn't make me want to go out and seek it on my own.
Yeah.
Because I've tried that too. And
haven't we all?
has not worked out good. But I don't know. It's just, I think it's hard. Like, Christians get mixed up in a lot of stuff too, but I think it's a lot easier to be susceptible to that type of stuff if you don't have a relationship with God. I just do, because this world is full of false things, like Satan is like the ruler of the earth, right? This is like his kingdom, quote unquote. So it's full of lies, or it's full of manipulation, it's full of deception. Like, it's very easy to get caught, full of temptation. It's very easy to get caught up in things and get distracted and go off track. And so that's why I just feel like, I don't know, it's just so important to have that relationship, develop that relationship, and even then it's still hard. So
for sure,
I don't know.
Yeah, it's something that's very I feel it's an individual thing. Like, you never want to look at someone's relationship and be like, oh, I want that, because you never know what those people have been through. You don't know what those people are going through. So I really try my best, like, to not be like, oh, I want that relationship. Yeah, from the outside it looks nice and stuff, but people go through so much, especially when people have been married for like years and years and years. People are like, oh my gosh, they've been married for 50 years. Like, it must have been like wonderful, roses and daisies and stuff. But like, marriage is not, even like relationships and marriages, they're not set up that way. Like, people don't get to 50 years of marriage like skating,
especially if they have kids in the mix.
Right. There's a lot of turmoil. There's a lot of not talking. Even like Michelle Obama was saying, she didn't talk to Barack for like 10 years. And I don't know how true that is, or what that is, but I could believe it, like people getting, droughts in relationships, and it's not all perfect. So like, to say that, you look at someone and be like, they're going to teach me, how to get the love of my life, or they're going to teach me, how to find self-love. And that, I forgot what they called it, where you talk, whatever you say, like you.
What was that? That was crazy. Where they like say something and then they put their
yeah,
was it
mirroring, yes. Yeah.
Yes, I thought that was insane, because I'm like, it didn't make sense in all of the cases that they were bringing it up. So I was just like, this doesn't even apply.
Yeah, I was really confused at first. Because it said replace every noun with me. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, this is
no, I'm the cheater. No, I'm crazy. When this guy is clearly the crazy one, it was just like reverse psychology to the max.
It was.
It was honestly, I mean, the red flag for me was the very beginning when they claimed to be able to find your soulmate, but yet they like wanted you to tell them everything about who you just got out of a relationship with. And then they were like, that's your soulmate. Like, how
Yeah.
easy is that?
Every single time.
How
So your
easy
ex
is
is your
that? And
soulmate.
then when that stopped working because, you know, restraining orders and all that stuff, and people were like not happy because their soulmate wasn't going after, wasn't like, you know,
Into it.
then they started, which I was like, why didn't you guys just do this in the beginning? They were like, well, your soulmate can only be someone in this twin flames thing. I was like, duh, because if you're drinking the Kool-Aid and they're drinking the Kool-Aid, then you guys make sense together. Right?
But at the same time, if you're drinking the Kool-Aid and we get someone outside, that's one more person drinking the Kool-Aid.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
But I feel like it's hard. Yes. But I feel like it's harder to bring someone into this.
Yeah, that it was bad on
cult.
their marketing.
You know what I mean?
attempts.
Like it was just funny. And then when they interviewed the Black woman, and she was like, it's hard for me because, you know, there's not really any Black people in this
Like,
cult.
girl, what you doing there?
I was like, girl,
What you doing in the first place?
Yeah, that should have been
Like,
your
get
first
out.
red flag.
get out. But yeah, no, it just kept getting insane. And then when they were like, because I saw it too, once I saw where they were going, I was like, I already know, because they were like, well, because at first they were talking about how homosexuality does not exist and all this other stuff, right? And this girl's like, well, I'm clearly gay, so I don't understand that. And then they were like, once they said, oh, your soulmate is only in this cult, they were like, well, now there's like an abundance of women over men, which is interesting also because it's like, if you look at statistically, like it was a lot more women than men.
Yeah.
So what does that say? Like, are women looking for love more? Are women more susceptible to for things when it comes to love or in general? I don't know.
Like dare I tie it back to Eve, but
yeah.
Circle it back.
Again.
But yeah, and so then after that, like, okay, well, I guess they couldn't go with the homosexuality doesn't exist theory anymore because now there's all women. They're saying your soulmate's only here. So then they started playing with people's genders, and I was like, what is this? Like,
I was done at that point because
that was wild. That the parents were like the most like confused and bothered and like what?
Right. It was like you are either divine feminine or divine masculine. And she's like, but I don't want to be a man. No, you have to be to survive in this relationship. It was like, wait, what? And like the fact that they were like, I'll try it out.
I'll give it a solid go.
What?
Like I felt bad for that one woman that they were like, you need to be more feminine. That's why this man isn't like he doesn't like you. And then once that didn't work out, they turned her into a man. They were like,
right.
You're gonna be the divine man. She's like, so I went from being super feminine to now trying to channel male energy. Right. I was just like, oh my goodness, this is a lot.
And I was like, oh my gosh, to imagine like what that must have taken out of her, like physically and mentally and emotionally, and like it's just like, how do you navigate?
But how are you still bought in?
Right, that's what I'm saying. They've made you, and the thing is, they cater their rules or terms, their laws, whatever, around whatever fits their agenda. So like this week that didn't work, so we're going to try it this week. The whole purpose of this is that we have a plan and it works and we're trying to sell it to you. Not that we're trying to figure out a plan and we want you to come on the ride to figure it out with us. We don't know what we're doing and we're just going to figure it out on the way. And it's just like, wait, what? I was just like, they're changing it moment after moment. Something doesn't work, we're going to change it. Oh, this must be it.
Actually, we were told.
But they have to act like they know what they're doing, even if it's switching it up. Because if they were to be like, you know what, we don't know, then that gives people a space to be like, wait, hold on, you don't know?
Yeah.
okay, why am I doing this then? You know,
But it looks like they don't know. I'm like, if you've
Yes.
changed your mind so many times, you like obviously you don't know anything.
You don't.
If you didn't physically say that, I can see that this is not working. And I have not benefited not one bit.
not one. But I noticed that every time we do these coaching calls, your background keeps getting nicer and nicer and nicer. Because I don't know if you guys keep that, but I did. I was like, oh, okay, they're getting some money now.
Yep.
All of a sudden, it was like it went just to this like okay, like whatever background to it started looking like okay, you guys in like a mansion now, or like what's happening?
Who's this? Y'all got a studio? Okay.
Hey, okay.
Yeah, that
I
was sad.
mean, it just I don't know. And also what also blows my mind about this particular story is that they're still in existence. They're still
I
in
went to their
existence.
Instagram. I went to their Instagram. I
Not
was
their
like,
Instagram.
I went to their website. I went to their
oh, I
website.
didn't want to go there.
And I went to their website because I was like, is this, first of all, I was like, how are they not in jail? Right. So I went to their website to see if it was still accurate. And they actually ended up having a kid.
I saw that. And
I
when we
was
were
like,
talking about their daughter is like whatever, and she doesn't have to have a partner or whatever. I'm like, so you putting these people through the ringer, but
your daughter
the
doesn't
rules
have
don't
to
exist for the child. The child is sacred. But we want you to like, tear up your lives and stuff. But our daughter, she ain't gonna be part of this.
I just feel like and maybe more stuff is getting done. I think at the end they said the FBI couldn't find anything like wrong with them, but I hope they are still continuing.
Realistically, though, I wonder if legally, though, I don't know what they've done wrong because these people are willingly like choosing to be there. I don't know, are there no laws against brainwashing? And like, how do you determine that anyway?
Yeah.
A lot of questions.
I mean, right. Well, here's the thing. What I can say is
I'm not saying it's not wrong. Like this, I'm not in support of cults. Let me
that.
make that very clear.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just
asking
saying I agree with what you're saying because they did make it, you could see that they knew what they were doing because I think there was one point where they were talking about they made them write an essay on why it wasn't a cult.
Yes.
They had them watch the documentary on that other cult, the Nixum, I think it was, or whatever. And then they had them write a paper on why their cult was not a cult.
And the girl was like, it convinced me even more that this was a cult.
It's a cult, right? He got mad at her for feeling that way. And it's like, I guess the reason why I'm like, I hope they are still watching them. And it is, you're right, Corinne, because it's like they are adults and they are willingly doing this. But it's like when they start talking about moving to that location and then having the cult leaders were talking about being able to pick their children and all that other stuff, I just felt like, I don't know, it was getting to like a really potentially dark situation. It just reminded me of like, like you think of these cults like the Jonestown or the People's Temple or whatever that was, where they all like there was the mass suicide of like 900 people drank Kool-Aid or whatever. And then there was another one, like when people start moving away to
Secluded
forming
areas.
their own like community. There's nothing wrong with like, forming your
Like unless it's a friend's compound.
Please. I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming.
There's nothing wrong with forming like look, my biggest dream would be to have my family all in one, like us to get a big plot of land and we all have our houses. They don't have to like,
stop convincing her.
Jessica and I are gonna live on our plot of land.
You wanted to do that? I think that
I am convincing Janie.
She's been convincing me for so long. She's like, we'll buy some property. We don't have to be right next door to each other.
We'll have a shared garden.
Yes.
Our dogs can roam free.
Yes. Like a community room.
Yes.
All that.
Are you in or what?
Look, I'm in. Me and my little cousin have been trying to pitch this to our parents for the past some odd years now, because I think that would be really dope, right? That is different from
what very much so.
Yeah. People are trying to create, like yeah. So I don't know. I was like, oh gosh. So when I heard that they were still in existence, I was like,
very sad, very sad. People are still like hopping on board. And I feel like a lot of it is just the sensationalism behind like the Netflix, and then people are just curious. But it just doesn't register to me how many people can, maybe people haven't seen the documentary, see what's going on and be like, I'll join, especially when you're paying money too, like
Oh
you're
yeah,
paying
that.
money for this.
And it's like seemed like a lot of money.
Yeah.
well, it was a lot. It was a lot of money. I don't know. I don't know personally how you watch the documentary and then join. Like
For sure. That didn't even
that's
register.
a
Like,
little.
how could you?
That would be. I would love
They're
to.
tapping into the population that doesn't have Netflix.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Hopefully, because
They know their audience.
They have people putting out flyers in their hometown, like join the Zoom. And the way they was talking to people on the Zoom was crazy too. Like, I feel like if he talked to me like that, you would not see my face on that Zoom call again.
right, I would have had some
Embarrassing.
some choice words, and then I would have blocked myself out of the situation. Like,
Absolutely
y'all don't have to block
not.
me. I'm gonna remove myself from this. Um, yeah, I don't know. He just everything about it was crazy. Even the meal plan to make women fat. I was like, what is happening? Like,
He was like, I love her like this. I was like, this seems very, very, very toxic to me. Like every aspect of their relationship seemed very toxic. Like it was just very controlling, manipulative, um, delusional. Like nothing made sense there. And I was just like, everyone's just going along for the ride. And I could not imagine like being, you know, being a part of that choo-choo train or cuckoo train. No offense, but like, it's just like
All the
the
offense.
blind, the blind leading the blind, literally.
no, it really is. And before we jumped on this Zoom, I was praying, and let me God, just like guide me somewhere. I'm gonna open up my Bible and we're gonna see where it lands, right? Opened up my Bible, kid you not, okay? And it landed on Jeremiah chapter 8. And I have the New Living Translation Bible. And so the like header of this chapter, or this set portion, was deception by false prophets.
Wow. Look at God.
Okay, let's go there, right?
He knew.
So I just wanted to read, and this is not the only place, but I just thought this was very interesting. I actually had been reading Jeremiah on my YouVersion app. So it was very interesting. I thought it was really cool too, because I always heard about people doing it and like just opening their Bible, asking God to lead them, opening their Bible, and it's like there. And so I just thought that was really cool.
I always make it fit. I'd be like, I know what you're trying to say, Lord.
That's good. That's good, because I've tried it before and I've been like, okay.
Let's try another page.
Where is
Right,
it?
right.
Close it, try again.
I'm gonna
Okay, so Jeremiah chapter 8. This is verse 8 and 9. It says, how can you say we are wise because we have the word of the Lord, when your teachers have twisted it by writing lies? These wise teachers will fall into the trap of their own foolishness, for they have rejected the word of the Lord. And then I wanted to go down to 11 and just 11. It was talking about how it says, he was talking about his prophets and priests that are frauds. And then he said, they offer superficial treatments for my people's mortal wound. They give assurance of peace when there is no peace. And I was like, yeah, that pretty much sums up cult culture, right? So they offer a promise of peace and this, and your life's going to be so much better, and I can give you what you need, and da da da. but it's all deception, because at the end of the day, I haven't heard of one successful, I mean, not that I'm like an expert on cults, because I'm not by any means, but I haven't heard of one successful cult that actually bettered people's lives and did something for them and made them positive humans, and just was like a good thing. Like, it all leads in destruction, right? And they're all lured in by a promise of something that these false prophets can't give them. Like, they can't give them peace. They don't have peace themselves. So how, if you don't have peace yourself, how can you give someone else peace? Right?
Amen.
So that was my little tidbit. Thank you,
No,
guys.
that was perfect. That was perfect. He laid it out for sure.
He was like, and say this. Sprinkle that in there.
Sprinkle that in there. No, that was perfect.
But yeah, so I'm glad you ladies got a chance to watch it.
Thank you so much for recommending it.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just very interesting. And it is very sad, because it's like I do really feel sad for people that get caught up in stuff like that too, because not everybody makes it out, right?
Mhm.
Out. And also, just preying on people that are vulnerable is just not cool. It's terrible. So
I thought you were saying like praying, like PRAY, like we should be
Wow.
preying on people who are like praying over them. And then you were like, it's not cool. I was like, whoa, whoa.
Oh,
whoa,
wait,
whoa.
what? This went to a different
We
direction.
shouldn't pray?
Pray. Prey.
Mhm.
Pray.
Yes, praying on them, not cool.
But
Praying
we
for
will
them.
pray for them.
Praying
Yes.
for them.
Yes.
Super cool.
Yes. Pray that they will find God and will, not cling to things of the world, because, it's just going to lead you in a downward spiral. So that's going to be like our task for the week, to make sure that we pray for, the people in the cult, the people that are in darkness that haven't found that cult yet, that they will, find God's light,
Not yet. Hopefully they never find it.
I know, at all,
Not
God's
yet.
light. That's all you need. That's all you need.
Yeah.
I love that. And I think also just adding, like, praying for just people in general, like, and everybody probably feels like they're lacking something. So just praying that, that they fill that void with God,
Amen.
and He will fill that void with what they need.
Yes.
Right?
No,
Yes.
that's good.
Yes.
Cup runneth over.
There we go.
All right.
Right.
Cut.